Hello and welcome. In today's video I thought we'd take a look at how all the seedlings are doing that I've planted so far this year. It's the 10th of March today when I'm recording this video, and all these seeds have been planted after the Christmas, so they're all still quite young and it's early days for them. Star of the show has definitely got to be the lettuces. So these are looking amazing, and they're at a point now where they could be planted out either into your greenhouse or, in my case, polytunnel. They could go out into the garden with a little bit of wind protection perhaps for a few days because they've been indoors, so they're not used to the outside weather. These are ready to either be planted out or you can start harvesting them now. Now you could just take your scissors to them and cut off great handfuls of leaves and make yourself a delicious salad. Or in order to keep them going for longer, so you can continue harvesting, like I've just done, literally going through this little pack and pinching off the biggest of the leaves here and there. Just a squeeze with my fingernails is enough to take the leaves off, and I can mix these in, make myself a lovely fresh green salad in early March. Homegrown, delicious, first harvest of the season. So that's what I plan to do with these, is literally just go through this pack, pinching off the leaves, and these are going in a salad with lunch. So the lettuces are looking splendid. They had a bit of a slow start, I thought, but they're certainly making up for it now. Now the herbs I planted some dill and some oregano. Made a big difference. Now my dill is doing fantastically. It has already been repotted once. It started with seeds in this one little white pot, and they were all hanging over the sides and overcrowded and needed some space. So I've repotted them on and put lots of them in this slightly larger black pot, and now they've all got a bit more space and they're standing up wonderful and strong and healthy. And actually I'm going to have some bigger bits of the dill and put that with my salad as well. Delicious. So they can be added to my lettuce leaves and go in with this morning's salad. Now my oregano, planted at the same time and treated in the same way, is not doing very well at all. This is my third attempt at sowing these oregano seeds. Germination is good. It's not old seeds and poorly stored packets. On my first attempt, I put them in the heated propagator, and once they started germinating and getting to about 1 inch tall, I took them out, and they're still indoors in the house, but they're not in the heated propagator. And things started damping off and wilting away and dying. So I thought maybe it was the shock. I'd taken it out of the propagator too soon. So I planted some more seeds, and they all started germinating and doing really splendidly. And I kept them in the propagator, thinking that had maybe been my problem. And they did exactly the same, and all wilted and died off and weren't doing very well at all. So this has been my third attempt with the oregano seeds. I have a few, as you see, just starting to show themselves. Now these were not put in a propagator. They're indoors in my house, so it's not cold. And germination rate has not been great, but I do at least have 6 or 7 little plants. So I'm hoping these will continue to survive. So I've got them on a south-facing windowsill, but they've got no artificial heat. They're not in a propagator, they're not on a heat pad. And the seeds that have germinated seem to be doing a lot better than the last lot were. So we'll see. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with oregano. Anyone got any tips? I'd be grateful to hear them. Pop them in the comments. Maybe I'll try again and see if I can do better. This was some ginger that I had bought from the grocery store, and as it started producing little islets in the food pantry cupboard, I had planned to plant it anyway. This is why I bought the ginger root, and it's doing splendidly. This did spend maybe 2 weeks with a heated propagator, but again, for 2 weeks now, It's just been out on a windowsill catching some sunshine. Not a lot of sunshine because it's only the 10th of March. And it's doing really well. I'm really pleased as well. So I'm really pleased with the ginger. Looking splendid. What else have I got on my table of excitements? These are a tiny strawberry. I think it's an alpine style strawberry. What have I got on my label? Glasses we need. Let's have a look. Mignonette. Don't know how to pronounce that. Strawberry mignonette. But they're doing splendidly. They're in little tiny pots. So I've got lots of these little pots of little alpine strawberries. And really, they could do with going outside now. But we're still a little bit cold weather-wise. So perhaps I planted them a bit soon and a bit eager. But it's a tiny plant. They'll be fine in here as long as I make sure I give them plenty of water. So these are doing lovely too. It's nice when things grow. Is it going to go there? No, I'm going to put you up there. Running out of space. There we go. Onion seeds. Now I've never grown onions from seed before. I generally plant onion sets, which are little tiny baby onions ready to pop into the soil, and they'll grow onions for this season. So I have Bedfordshire Champion, which seems to be doing better for me, and I have onion Stuttgarter. Now the Stuttgarters didn't germinate as well, taking it away from you instead of towards. Stuttgarter, I didn't get such good germination, but those that germinated are catching up now, so maybe I need to plant some more of those. And Bedfordshire Champion has been a champion. It's doing really well. In the first few weeks when they started germinating, for a long time, things were all leaning over and lying about like this one is, just lying sideways on the seed trays and not standing up. But in the past week or so, they've started getting a bit stronger and are starting to stand up for themselves as their next set of leaves are coming in. So, onions from seed, a first for me, and I've been relatively pleased with it so far. I have no idea whether to expect edible, harvestable onions this year, or whether these will just grow to the stage of onion sets ready to plant next year. I just don't know, and I haven't done my research. I'm just giving it a go. So it'll be fun, a fun experiment for me, see how they get on. I like trying things and experimenting. Now for some more unusual, non-typical garden things. What shall we start with? I think these went in at the same time as all those, a little forest of seeds, and it seems to have lost its label, but I know this is my passion fruit. I don't know where its label is, I'm going to have to go and find that. So these are passion fruit seeds from a passion fruit bought in the supermarket. I scooped out the seeds, rinsed them with a little tiny tea strainer to rub off all the jelly goop that comes around the seeds. They were in the propagator for maybe 2 weeks till they got about 1 inch tall, and since then they've been on that south facing window ledge. I turn the pot round every couple of days just to keep them upright and straight. Now these are ready to be repotted. They're thick and dense and there's loads of stems in there, and I've got loads more than I expected, so I'm really pleased. But having too many is not a problem. It allows me to fail with some of them. If they get eaten by a slug or get some green fly, it damages them. Hopefully I'll have others that can fill in the gaps. And of course I'll have lots of lovely plants that I can share around with friends, other gardeners and allotmenteers. So I've done all the fun of the seed germinating and they can have a ready to go plant. It's nice to share your plants, it's good. Another one that's doing very nicely for me, grown in exactly the same way, are these pomegranates. So these were pomegranate seeds, again, from the supermarket. And normally if I was going to try this, I would use a pomegranate and cut it open and take out the seeds. So when I went to the supermarket to get my pomegranate, they didn't have any. But what they did have were pomegranate seeds in a little picnic style pot, ready for lunch snacks, I suspect. So I bought that instead as an alternative, and they've come up really well. So again, we have this little forest of pomegranates ready to be repotted. I shall do that in a moment. We'll take you down to my potting station and we'll pot these into individual pots. One little pomegranate tree for each little 3-inch pot. And another one that's growing me a forest of trees are my apple pips. If I can find them, there we go, bring them into shot. So here we have the apple pips. Now there's a couple of different varieties of apple. As I said when I planted them, there's no guarantee that these little apple trees will bear apples that are exactly the same as the apple it came from. In fact, it's much more likely it'll bear a completely different apple, and probably what we call crab apples, so little tiny round apples that are great for making a crab apple jelly. So even if these apple trees grow into nothing particularly special, they're special for me because I'm hoping in the future I'll be able to use these as a rootstock to graft on bits of branch from apple trees that have nice, tasty, delicious apples on them. So still well worth the effort of growing, even if these actual seeds don't produce an apple that's something you'd want to sit and eat in your picnic lunch. Having said that, there's just as much chance they might actually grow a really nice, tasty, delicious munching apple. So it'll be interesting to watch them over the years and see how I get on. So that's our apples. Again, getting to the point, almost ready for repotting. I might give them a week or two before I do that. And lastly up here, I have kumquat, which was another strange supermarket seed I chose to plant. I'll bring these in close because they're tiny. So I didn't have very many pips of this because kumquats are known I'll eat 4 and get one that has some pips in it. But I've got, I think 5, 5, I can't see in the pots. So I have 5 little seedlings. This one's doing very tall and strong. All doing quite nicely. Started in the propagator just to give them a head start, maybe for 2 weeks at most. Once they're up and got their leaves showing, it's time to come out and start hardening off to the environment of the indoors of the house. These will bear kumquats. I shall use them as a house plant, so hopefully in a couple of years they don't take very long to start bearing fruit. And from what I've heard, the blossoms smell gorgeous, so I'm looking forward to that. So 5 little kumquats to give me a start. I'm going to take you downstairs now. All these things at the moment are sitting on my south-facing upstairs window ledges. So the upstairs bedrooms have got plants in all of them. But I have other exciting things growing downstairs. So we'll go downstairs now and have a look and see how they're getting on. Back again. I was just starting to put all my plants back on their window ledge and found the avocado that I had not forgotten about but missed in the earlier part of the video. Now my avocado stone doesn't seem to be doing much at the moment. It's not in a propagator. It's got no extra heat. It's just indoors in the house. It has started developing a crack along the top. No, I don't know if that's the avocado itself cracking open or if that was a mark from the knife when I cut the flesh off the stone. I can feel with my finger underneath where the root will come through, there's a little scratchy bit just here where that pale dot is. There's a little, I can feel it, little sharp scratchy like a pin sticking out, but I can't really see anything yet. So we're going to carry on leaving that sitting in its water. I'm confident it will grow, it's just going to take time. It's a very big seed, so we'll see how long it takes to start producing a root. The first thing I expect to see is a white root pushing down into the water, which is why I'm growing it in a jar like this, because although you could put it straight in the soil and compost and let it grow quite happily, I'd like the pleasure of watching its root growing down into this water before we put it in a pot. Right, back to the downstairs seedlings. Let's go and see how they're getting on. I'm busy laughing, I've just recorded all of this and the camera wasn't switched on, so we'll do it again. So here I am downstairs, sat on the floor in front of my patio doors so that these young seedlings can get the maximum amount of light. And a very wet pussycat sitting in a high chair. What is she doing up there? I have no idea. But while we're looking at her, sitting on the high chair table, I've planted some chamomile. This is chamomile for a chamomile lawn. I'm really pleased, it's coming up really well. It does look like grass already. This is a Roman chamomile. I've only last year, I think, discovered that there are two different kinds of chamomile. I always thought all chamomile was the chamomile lawn. But we need Roman chamomile, is a shorter plant and is the one that would be used in a chamomile lawn, rather than the slightly taller plant that you're using to take all the little daisy flowers off to make your beautiful chamomile tea. So I'm not putting this in the main lawn. We get too much traffic and foot movement going on. So although they call it the chamomile lawn, it doesn't like being walked on lots and lots and lots. I am going to plant it in little tufts around the edges of lawn area, and hopefully it won't get stomped on there and will survive quite nicely. These are the pea seeds that we started maybe 2 weeks ago. Might have been 3, I can't remember. These are the pea seeds we started in the Tupperware box lined with kitchen paper, just until the seeds started germinating little roots. And once they had little roots at 1 to 1/2 inch long, I've potted them into pots, 3 or 4 seeds in each little pot. Oh, and I've actually got roots coming out the bottom of this one already. I like to put them in these underbed storage boxes. They're really great for the first few days because I can have the lid clipped on here, and that keeps my pussycats out of it. And I like the box because it stops all my little pots falling over, keeps them well contained, and obviously it's waterproof, so I can water these and no worries of splashing water about anywhere else that I don't want it. So that's my peas, doing excellent. And these are now ready to be planted either into the polytunnel, or I'll leave them in there for a few more weeks and they'll be fit to go out into the garden when our weather's a little bit warmer than it is at the moment, because remember we are still only the 10th of March. But having the luxury of the polytunnel does give me that great opportunity to start things off a little bit earlier. So in exactly the same method, I'm growing some sweet corn. So these were started in the same way, wet kitchen paper in a Tupperware box, and when the seeds started producing roots, I popped 1 seed into each little 3-inch pot to give my sweet corn a head start. Now I've put these in slightly longer, deeper pots. They're called long toms. Tomatoes don't like much root disturbance either, so a long pot is good for them, which is why these are called long toms, because they're good for your tomatoes. So I put the sweet corn in these slightly taller, longer pots. They're not keen on root disturbance, but I've never found a major problem with it. So I give them this slightly taller pot so their roots get a little less disturbed as we're moving from here into their growing site. Now these are up and growing just like the peas. They could go into the polytunnel now, or I could hang on to them a bit longer in these pots, which is what I plan to do, and possibly I'll grow some of them outdoors. I germinated so many seeds of the sweet corn this year in this one run. I've already planted some of the rooted seeds directly into the soil of the polytunnel at the same time as I planted these into their little pots. Now the polytunnel seeds aren't pushing up green sprouts yet, so it shows the difference being outdoors in a cool as to indoors in the house, but I'm sure they'll pop up no problem at all. As well as planting the sweet corn, I planted some broad beans alongside them, literally alongside them, 2 rows close together. My hope is that because the sweet corn has big, long, strong stems, that they'll be able to support the beans. So I'm going to use my growing sweet corn as a cane and stake support for my beans to grow up. Bit of an experiment. I'll be interested to see how it gets on. I love all these great gardening experiments. I've also got beans growing indoors. This one's just a little bit further ahead with its bean growing shoot. So these are just standard broad beans soaked on wet tissue paper till they start to root, and then one bean popped in each little pot. There we go, beans put back. Hello Rosie, I'm trying to make a video. What are you meowing about? Is it raining out? Can you not go out to play? Oh dear. No, don't sit on these. I've planted some gherkin seeds. Oh, facing the wrong around. 2 little gherkin seeds in each little tiny pot. These are tiny little pots, but just right to give these a head start, so I know I have living, viable green plants. These are just the seed leaves at the moment, no true leaves coming through yet. I like using gherkins as a cucumber through the summer. They're small, so I don't need this huge long cucumber. I can have a little short gherkin, and they're perfect. I use them just as you would use a cucumber in salads. Hello! What else have I got? I've got some radicchio. This is a first for me. I've not grown radicchio before. I have to admit I was expecting these seedlings to come up a slightly purpley shade because it's a purple radicchio I'm growing. We'll see what the true leaves look like when they start appearing. And some tomato seedlings. So these haven't been in a propagator. They're just in the warmth of the house. This is Gardener's Delight tomatoes. So little round cherry tomatoes. And that's it for all the seed starts at the moment. Now I'm going to set myself up and pot up my passion fruit and my pomegranates into individual little pots. In fact, I think I might put 2 or 3 passion fruit seeds in each pot and 1 pomegranate because they're a tree. We'll need a bit more space. So let's go and set that up. The lighting at the table is terrible, so I'm down on the floor on this little tray. So here's the passion fruit plants. Take them out of their drip tray, and I'm bringing my hand around them to protect all my little seedlings and just patting the bottom. Oh, these lovely roots, gorgeous. And I'm just going, I'll do it this way so you can see, and I'm going to gently break this lump apart, just teasing it slowly. I want to tear as few of those roots as possible, and little shake. All my tops are stuck together. Woohoo! Well, that's the worst bit. The roots were okay. All my tops of plants are all stuck in each other. Very gently, so as not to damage things. I want to do as little damage and disturbance as possible. There we go. Right, I'm going to pop this bit back into its original pot for a moment, just so I have less to work with at once. Pop that over here. And let's have a look at these. We can, again, just break them up and separate them apart. Try and keep some soil with them. Well, that'll be good. I'm going to plant those together as one lump. And I don't know, I'll separate these. Get that one out. One little seedling and its roots. Perfect for planting. Oh, and these are just falling off, these little baby ones. Put them to the side. And the same with these. So many. Now I have my little seedlings. I'm going to prop them up to the side a moment so you can see. Now I have some little pots, so this is what's going in, and I'd already filled these the other day, planning to put some sweet corn in them. I'm going to tip that out. So I'm going to take a handful of compost into the bottom of my pot to give it a nice rooty bottom. More soily. Take one of my seedlings and place that in the pot. Now I don't mind if I bury a bit of stem. Anything below these 2 seed leaves will be fine, but you mustn't get anything in here where the leaf joint is, because that's when things will start to rot. And slowly all around it, sprinkling compost into the pot. And then just very gently, with a very light tap around the edge, more compost. And there we have it, one little passion fruit plant. So I'll get on and pot the rest of these, and I'm going to do the same with my pomegranates. So in the end, I didn't plant all of my passion fruit into individual pots. I planted these 11 pots with 2 or 3 plants in each little pot, and then the other half, remember when I split it in half a minute ago, the other half of my pot, I just broke that into 2/4 of a pot and popped the whole cluster of seeds into these 2 pots here. They're a little bit crowded and they still need potting on, but I'm running out of space, so this will have to do for the minute. It's given them a bit more root space because there's only 1/4 in this pot compared to what was there before. But my pomegranates I have actually planted into one of my big tubs, and I have 1 pomegranate tree in each pot. I've actually got an empty pot in the corner. I ran out of trees. So I'll give these all a good water now and keep them in the house for a few more days. And then when we get to the end of March, I reckon they'll be ready for hardening off, putting out during the day, bringing in the evening, out during the day, in the evening. And then we'll move them into the polytunnel and eventually outdoors for the summer. We'll see how they get on. Now to give them all a good watering and settle them in after all that disturbance. So that's it for today, and bye for now. And remember, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it. I'm having great fun growing all these lovely, interesting plants. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to click that like button and let me know. Click subscribe and YouTube will make sure you see my next video. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget, whatever you're doing, have fun doing it.